college football playoff is set in the final year of the four-team system. We're going to break it down here on Chat Sports. Harrison Graham and Tyler Jones with you. You see the matchups there. Michigan versus Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Washington versus Texas in the Sugar Bowl. We'll take a look at the matchups themselves in a little bit, Tyler. But I think we just got to dive into our instant reaction here of the four teams being set. The committee clearly, and Boo Corrigan, the chair, just said moments ago, they are a different team. Talking about Florida State without Jordan Travis, that injury seemed to really flip the switch to put Alabama in that final spot.
Yeah, the decision came down to who wins in a head-to-head matchup, Alabama or Florida State, and I think everybody and their mother would agree Alabama would win that matchup head-to-head. They are a better team than Florida State is right now. It sucks for Florida State. It's a team that did everything they were supposed to do. Had not one but two non-conference Power 5 wins, but this team had clearly fallen off from what they were a few weeks ago without Jordan Travis.
Yeah, a couple things to consider here. Number one, Florida State had to go to their third-string quarterback in the ACC championship, and Brock Glenn was not ready. They won in spite of him with a championship-level defense. I do think that's worth mentioning. You do wonder if Tate Rodemaker, Florida State's backup, who started to play better in the second half against Florida, if he plays yesterday and they put up 27, 30 points, would that have been enough? Would that have been convincing enough to put them in over Bama, who just beat Georgia in the SEC championship? We'll never know because it didn't happen. I feel for Florida State. I want to get that out there. An unbeaten Power 5 champion has never been left out of the college football playoff. And sure, you could say, well, this will never happen again. We're going to a 12-team system. That doesn't make it feel right, though, right now. It just doesn't. I get both sides of the argument. I think right now the four teams that made it are going to give you the best and most entertaining product on the field. But at the same time, to your point, what was Florida State supposed to do? I mean, Jesse Palmer on the telecast last night is telling Mike Norvell
to run up the score
late to try and seem more convincing. He's just trying to manage a game with the third-string quarterback in the moment. It's hard to do that, man. So you let us know. Did the committee get it right? Type Y for yes and for no. I think for the best games possible they did, Tyler, but I can't say there isn't an argument to be pissed if you're Florida State fans, because there absolutely is.
Did they get the four best teams? Yes. Did they get the four most deserving?
No.
No. That's what this comes down to. The committee, I'll say to their credit, has been consistent the entire time in the last few months of we are looking for the best, not resume-based. What do you guys think? Why for yes and for no?
And obviously it's always a combination of both, and I think the injury to Jordan Travis pretty clearly swayed the pendulum against Florida State. So let's take a look at these matchups a little bit here, Tyler. You got the Rose Bowl, which Michigan opted to take that game, which makes sense. You don't want to play Alabama down in New Orleans. So they're going to play in Pasadena, 5 o'clock Eastern. Rose Bowl wants to keep that afternoon time slot, which is when it's always been on New Year's Day. Wolverines undefeated, trying to slay that college football playoff dragon. They've lost to Georgia a couple years ago. They got upset by TCU last year. Well, now they get a red-hot Alabama team. That doesn't make it that much easier, as Jalen Milroe is playing pretty good football for Nick Saban right now.
This is an incredibly tough draw for a one seed to have to be facing this Bama team. Milroe is playing so much better than what he did at the start of this season. And Michigan, they were able to weather the storm without Jim Harbaugh, and their defense looked fantastic down the stretch here. This is going to be a fantastic game.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I think the early line is like Michigan minus 2.5 or something like that. It's tight. Over-under set at 46 for anyone keeping track at home. Sportsbooks are definitely raking in the bets right now. We'll take a look at Washington and Texas in a moment. That, of course, is a rematch from the Alamo Bowl game a year ago. But before we get there, let's talk about Prize Picks, today's sponsor. There's going to be a lot of Prize Picks more or less type of projections you can get into with these college football playoff games and all these bowl games over the next month or so. Get started today, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Our code CLNS. Get you a deposit match up to $100. It's daily fantasy made easy. They have stat projections, and you take the more or less on player entries from 2 to 6 players. If you do a 6-player entry, you can win up to 25 times your money if you hit on all 6 picks. If you do a 2-player entry, it's less bang for your buck, but easier to connect, obviously. Little NFL Sunday entry for you guys. Christian McCaffrey, half a rushing touchdown. I think he finds the end zone today. Give me more there. A.J. Brown, who's been red hot. Chris Godwin, good receiver. Only need 1 total touchdown rushing or receiving out of those 2. I think that hits. Give me more. I'm going to go less on Bailey Zappi passing yards. The Patriots are a mess offensively. $10 to win 50, so 5 times your money there. Again, you can win up to 25 times your money. Get started with Prize Picks today, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. Let's take a look at the Sugar Bowl, Tyler. It's a rematch of the Alamo Bowl, like I mentioned. Texas and Washington, 2 high-flying offenses, but some pretty good defenses, too. I think both these teams are pretty complete.
Yeah, and I think the common theme with both these teams is they have found ways to win this year. Texas went through a lull where they got by teams like Kansas State. They were without Quinn Ewers for a while. Washington, on the other end, got by teams like Arizona State and USC and others. But here they are, finding a way to get to this championship game. 2 very good quarterbacks. I think this one's going to be a fantastic matchup here. Washington, watch out for their run game. That run game looked fantastic against Oregon.
They're balanced.
Texas did a great job of slowing down Ollie Gordon in the Big 12 championship. Will Washington be able to have an effective run game like they had in the Pac-12 title game?
Yeah, and the good news is if the run does get stuffed, if you're a Washington fan, you've got an NFL quarterback and 3 NFL receivers with Jalen Polk, obviously Rome Odunze. They've got Washington as well. Or Washington also has, I'm completely blanking on that third receiver, Jalen McMillan, the other one as well. They got 3 big-time receivers. Texas, Xavier Worthy was on crutches in the second half of the Big 12 title game. We'll keep an eye on that. They got 4 weeks to get ready, both preparation-wise and health-wise. That would be a notable loss if he was unavailable, but he's been nicked up all year. I have a feeling he's going to be available. They've got A.D. Mitchell on the outside, and even though Jonathan Brooks went out with injury, Tyler, they've got a good crew of running backs back there. Blue's been running the ball well. They've got C.J. Baxter as well. Keelan Robinson's a good change of pace back. So both these offenses can really go, both in the run and the pass game, and they're not unreal defenses, but they're both more than adequate on that side of the football.
Yeah, and then the Xavier Worthy element. Is he going to be able to play or not? How does that change things for Texas in this matchup? That'll be something to monitor. The big storyline, obviously, is Florida State getting left out of this whole ordeal with an undefeated record, the first ever Power 5 team to go undefeated and miss the playoff. Did they get screwed? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Harry, what say you?
I think they did get screwed, but I understand why they got screwed, if that makes sense. Like, look, if I'm a Florida State alum, I don't care what any of these talking heads, you wouldn't care what I would have to say, and I wouldn't blame you. Like, I think the matchups are better with Florida State out of it, but that doesn't mean they didn't get screwed. They absolutely got screwed. They're an unbeaten Power 5 champ. They beat LSU and Florida in the non-con. They got screwed because their quarterback got hip tackled and snapped his leg. That's why they're not in the playoffs. So it sucks for Florida State, man. It really does. I think the matchups are better without them, but they still got screwed. So I'm typing my 1 for yes. If you want more college football, NFL, and NBA coverage all year, we cover all 3 sports very, very closely. And if you're a college football fan, the next month or so, this is the time to be subscribed to Chat Sports. Help us out. Hit that sub button. It's 100% free. Recruiting information and updates. We got transfer portal updates. We'll have deeper dives into these playoff matchups as we move forward as well. We'll take a deep dive into Washington, Texas, and into Michigan, Alabama, so be on the lookout for that. Sub for more content. We would greatly appreciate it. Some final thoughts here, Tyler. So, again, and we nailed this on our live show. We thought Texas was going to be in and be number 3, and that was the case. The decision the committee had to go through was, are we going to leave out an unbeaten Power 5 champ for the first time ever, or are we going to leave out the SEC for the first time ever? Something that has never happened before was going to happen. They opted to keep the SEC in with Alabama and to exclude a Power 5 unbeaten champ in Florida State.
Yeah, that's the bed that they made, and they're going to have to sleep in it with that decision here. And you look at that Alabama team, and your one blemish is to a team that is in the playoff in that Texas team. And I'll say this. Florida State has every right to be pissed. No question about it. But it's not like that you got left out for an an undeserving team in Alabama. This team, Alabama, looks like a complete football team on both sides of the football that just beat the number one team in the country, ended the nation's longest winning streak that was owned by Georgia here. Like, that's a worthy team. I mean, Alabama deserved to be there too.
It's not like Georgia, who lost their conference championship game, got in over Florida State.
Right.
That would have been criminal if that happened. That didn't happen. This is the ultimate life isn't fair moment.
Yes.
It really is. I mean, the committee had 5 very worthy teams. All 5. This is the first year all 5 Power 5 champions had a very strong argument. In the 10-year history of the 4-team playoff, first year it's ever happened. Usually there's like a 2-loss team or whatever.
We have a 4-team tournament, and you're telling me the Power 5 system didn't necessarily work for 4 teams?
Shocking.
Yeah, imagine that.
Well,
It's tough nature, tough business, but at the end of the day, I think the committee made the right call. I hate it for Florida State, but Alabama is the better team. The number one job of the committee is to get the 4 best teams.
Yeah, and look, that's always subjective. We know that, but I tend to agree with you. These games are going to be better without Florida State, but that doesn't make it any less painful if you're a Florida State fan. It really doesn't. But I guess the silver lining is this is why you expand. You know, coming into this year, a lot of people didn't like the expansion idea. Well, we just had a year where it's so clearly if expansion was in play, it would be
so
better
think
for
about
everyone.
this. Think about this as far as that expansion idea goes. In next year's situation, Florida State at 5 would then have to play a first-round game at home. And I think we could live with that. We could say, okay, sure, you didn't earn the first-round bye.
Prove it to us you're worthy of being here. Yeah.
And I could live with that.
Georgia would be in. Ohio State, that lost 1 game by 6 points, would be in. So let us know who you guys think wins the college football playoff this year. Michigan, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, Washington, Texas in the Sugar Bowl. Should be fun. Let us know who you guys think wins it all.